Just yesterday, I came back from a 10-day trip with my family in which I spent around 10 days without my phone, without any TV, without any kind of modern technology interfering with my thoughts. So, in this time, I thought about a lot of things. I visited a lot of places. I talked to people. I talked to my family. I saw their own point of view on certain things, things which I wouldn't have otherwise asked them about or talked to them about if it weren't for this kind of a trip. In this time, in those 10 days, I came to some very important conclusions about the way that things work in my life and the way that things work in other people's lives as well. So, one of the main things that I believe stuck out in this time was our values. The topic that kept being in my mind and is still in my mind, it's something that I believe is really important is changing your values, is what we make of our values, what we have as values in our lives. A lot of people don't seem to understand just what value means. I see value as the set of beliefs, the set of opinions, the set of things that we incorporate within ourselves, within our identity, within our personality. And so, we need to understand just what values mean to us. We need to understand just how important those values can be to us and just how we can change them, just how we can manipulate them towards our own helpful desires, towards our own helpful, authentic way of life. If this doesn't make sense yet, I think things will really end up making sense as I go on about the video. You know, my values throughout my entire self-improvement journey, they changed radically. From thinking about my old way of life, thinking about the way that I used to live my life in the past 3 4 years of my life and how things are happening now, and the process that I went through just to get to this point in my life, and to myself to understand that this is not even the end, this is the start of the entire process. It's something truly wonderful to even think about it. When you go on this self-improvement journey, and this is a realization that I had, and I believe like this will sound like common sense because it is, but when we do self-improvement, what do we really do on self-improvement? Well, we do a bunch of activities which we regard as self-improvement activities, as habits, as good habits, right? That's what everybody calls them, good habits. But we don't ever seem to understand what these good habits actually do to us, right? And so that's why, and this is kind of like an extra thing, this is the reason why so many people out there just quit so easily. This is why so many people out there just quit everything that they're doing. They quit all the good habits that they're trying to pursue. They quit the entire idea of improving their own selves, of becoming better people, just because they do not understand what's actually going on. And so I came to the conclusion that our entire self improvement journeys, which don't end in like 2 3 years, they go on for our entire lifetimes because I keep saying it and I'll say it again. Maybe I'll go to the grave saying this, right? Self improvement is not something that you just do and then you kind of stop doing it. It's not just something that, can be stopped. Once you go on it, once you dedicate yourself to it, it goes on for your entire life. Self improvement is not just this random process that happens 2 3 years and then it's gone. No, it's a lifestyle. We live by self improvement. We live by improving our own selves, by developing ourselves into better human beings. So, what do we really do when we start reading, when we start meditating, when we start just spending time alone with our thoughts and pondering about what's going on in our minds? What do we do when we go to the gym and when we talk to other people? Well, we exchange different kinds of values with other people, with the environment that we live in. We get constant feedback from what's going on. When you're reading a book, you're reading about some random things. Maybe it can be even a fictional story. It can be a non-fiction story. It can be like a actual self-improvement book, or it can just be like a random fiction story, right? And you're reading through those lines, and you might actually realize that Most of those things there are just values, but they're actually masked behind a story. They're masked behind something. But at the end of the day, all of them are just values. When you see a main character in a story, well, most of the time, that main character, he symbolizes a value. There's so many stories about out there with all these kinds of heroes and everything. What do you think those heroes symbolize? That guy, that random guy who goes out and slays the dragon, who kills the boar, who kills a tiger who has been hunting his entire family. He's a hero, but in the end, he embodies courage. He embodies sacrifice of having to go out there and face that risk. And so, when we read books, what we do is we actually just understand values, but in a very sophisticated way. When we meditate, when we spend time just thinking about random stuff, we end up we analyze different kinds of values and we actually get some sort of feedback out of it. We think to ourselves, let's say you're just sitting here on a chair and you're not doing anything, you're staring at your wall, right? Just nothing, just staring at your wall, right? Phone closed, no nothing. Random thoughts start coming in your mind, don't they? Random thoughts about all kinds of things. Up until you have this one thought which really captivates your attention. You're like, that's really important. This thought about me, oh man, like I don't do as much as I could be possibly doing. Oh man, like I could be making more progress towards this thing, but I don't know why I'm not doing it. Or I should be very careful about that one thing because it seems like it's something important to me and I wouldn't want to lose it. When we do all these kinds of things, we realize all kinds of thoughts, but all those thoughts, what they embody are values, right? Everything that we think about, oh man, like, maybe I'm not doing as much as I could be doing, at the gym. I'm not putting in every piece of myself when I'm doing a set, when I'm doing something. I'm not just fucking throwing myself into it. I'm not putting that mind. And sorry for the swear words. I had some people tell me that maybe I shouldn't swear as much. I completely agree. And this is very interesting because I thought about this. I was like, oh, what a coincidence. This is a change of values. The fact that, somebody tells me that, maybe you shouldn't swear and everything so much because it kind of gets away from the point. It just starts making things much more weirder and kind of less attractive to a lot of people. Just because you swear a bunch, right? And so in the end, what I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, if I stop swearing, which I believe is a good thing, then I am changing this, and this is me changing my values. So this is a very important process that happens on a daily basis and will keep happening for our entire lives, for our entire existence. It doesn't matter. So ever since we are born, I believe when we're born, we don't really have a set of values, right? We're not even conscious when we're born, right? We're just babies. We're just like meat globs, right? Just crying and screaming and pooping and shitting, right? That's all that we do. But as we grow older and as we have constant input from the outside world, from the people around us, from the animals that we encounter, from the life, from the objects that we touch and everything, we get constant input and we start forming ideas, thoughts, opinions, beliefs about certain things. Oh, well, I shouldn't touch that. Like that guy's fine, so I should be spending more time with him. Like that guy's not fine. I don't want to spend time around that guy because I don't like him. Or maybe I shouldn't eat that because, last time I did that, my tummy hurt very badly, as a child. Or maybe I shouldn't touch the frying pan because my hands will get burnt and it will hurt like hell for the rest of my life. Not really the rest of your life, but when you're a kid, it lasts like a lifetime, this pain. So, this is what we're doing. As we constantly grow, we are changing our values. This is exactly what we're doing. We are changing our values constantly. And I want you to understand that this is a process that is happening even right now as you're watching these videos. If you watched any of my videos, chances are you've actually picked up some of my values. Because everything that I say in my videos, and this is especially true for my videos and for other people's videos, what we do is we just give out values. This is what I do. I give out the values of, I try at least, to properly display the value of maybe courage or maybe sacrifice or maybe love, all those kinds of things, right? All these kinds of values. There's so many more, right? I'm trying my best, and maybe I'm not, right? Maybe I'm not doing my best, but at least I'm trying, right? I'm putting in this kind of feedback for you so that you can see what's going on, so you can understand, you can kind of get that feedback from me. You can think you can actually start thinking about it, you can start processing what I'm saying and be like, no, that's stupid, or yes, I actually like that. You know, that's what happens. You watch a video like this, you have like two ways that you can think about it. Maybe a third one, which is not really great, but yeah. The first one is, I love this. This is amazing. I'm gonna absorb the values that this piece of content has given me. Second, I hate this. This is horrible. Why did I watch this? I'm going to literally destroy, demolish any kind of values that I still have in regards to this video, in regards to this piece of content, right? Any values that which kind of even seem to intersect with each other's. And the third one is, I agree with some things, I don't like the others. And so I'm in this middle gray zone and I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And so I believe that it is our obligation in the end to change our values in a positive way. It is our obligation in the end, behind all of this, oh, we're just getting constant values and input from the world. We're being influenced by the world, to just say it in much easier terms to understand, right? We're being influenced by the outside world as much as we're being influenced by our own personality, our own authentic desires, which we were bored with, right? And so, although we're getting all kinds of constant feedback and values from the outside world, and sometimes we're adopting them, sometimes we're actually putting them away, if you're not careful about them, you can really adopt a lot of bad values, right? When you go into school one day, this is again, like, this is so true for me, right? So many people are swearing, they're using this kind of language. You'd be happily fine to just jump into that kind of behavior as well, to just start swearing all the time and to start being like this kind of person that maybe you were not supposed to be like. Maybe this kind of person that you don't feel like you want to be like, but you just keep doing things. You keep picking up the value. Keep listening to the constant feedback that is being displayed by other people that you're taking in. And you think to yourself, yeah, like, why not? Who cares? Who cares if I say this word, or who cares if I say this? That's you changing your values, and that is you changing your values in a negative light. And this can happen anywhere, with anything, with any object. It doesn't even have to be an actual person. It can just be an object. It can be anything, right? Anything can give you bad values, right? But it is our obligation as human beings, as conscious human beings, it is our obligation to chase and to incorporate positive values into our lives. And I believe this is the main point of our lives, right? This is what we are doing. Maybe at least, the people who actually have a more spiritual side to their life, this is what they're doing. They're spending all this time on earth just incorporating different good values, or they're trying to. They're going on this journey to try and incorporate all these kinds of values into their own personality, into their own lives, so that they can grow themselves, so that they can develop in a very beautiful manner, right? And so it is part of our lives. It is part of, especially young men, because I'm making videos for young men, right? Because if I were to make videos for everybody, this would be way, way out of line, right? But at least specifically for young men, I believe that it is part of our journey as we're trying to reach a better state of life, as we're trying to actually fulfill our true ambitions and our true authentic desires. I believe it is our obligation to fulfill all of these positive, and try to, fulfill and incorporate and make them part of our personality, all these positive values. You know, you need to open your mind to all kinds of different concepts, all kinds of different things that you would have and that you would see from the outside world, and yet you still need to keep and maintain older reliable concept, like older reliable values, right? Concept is like a synonym for value. And so when you go out in the outside world, we need to constantly, and I think this is truest for me now, we need to kind of set some sort of filter to our own minds. Some sort of filter as to what we let through, as we what we let through in our own minds, and what we keep outside of our own minds, right? Because you're gonna see a lot of things just walking on the street. You're gonna see a guy wearing something. You're gonna see a guy with messy hair, whatever, like all these kinds of fuckboy, hairstyles. Well, you'd be very tempted to actually just kind of take in the value of whatever that is. In the end, I'm not exactly sure what that represents, but I'm damn sure it's a value. I am sure that it is a value that we incorporate within ourselves. When we look at a person, we see it. If we don't pass it through the filter, we just let it just kind of bypass the filter like that. If we don't let it actually go through the filter and filter out all the bad things and only the good things come out on the other side, if we don't do that, you'd be very tempted to next day, even although you like maybe you have like hair like mine, right? To just suddenly start fading it and doing all kinds of crazy lines around it, do whatever because yeah, I saw this guy and it looked cool on him, so it probably looked cool on me. Who knows? Maybe it will. But in the end, it's just about the concept, the principle of you seeing something happen. And if you don't pass it through the filter, it will influence you. And most of the time, sadly, it won't influence you in a positive way. Because positive values, you won't just simply find them everywhere you look. That's the hard part. Because if it were that easy, then our parents would just let us run off in the world when we're 5, and the world would be amazing. And we'd be living in a, I don't know, in a utopia, right? But we're not. Our parents keep us close. Our parents keep us safe from all kinds of bad values. At least, this is the role of a parent, to keep his child safe from stupid, bad, harmful values which he could or she could incorporate in our personality or in his. And so it is not a simple journey to go on, to try to change your values, to try to actually start incorporating positive values and try to push them through the filter. It is something that I believe takes a lot of mind work in the end, because to some extent, I feel like this is something that I'm just kind of doing without even thinking. When I'm in my classroom and I'm seeing all kinds of different things happening, or when I'm walking on the street, or when I'm at home, and I see my parents are watching TV or something, and I pass by and I catch a glimpse of something, I automatically think to myself, guilty until proven otherwise, right? Like, maybe not always, but it's like, for me, it's helped to some extent, that I guilty until proven otherwise, as in you are passing everything through that filter, and if nothing good comes out, if you're just that thing, just that value just hits the filter and nothing good is coming out of the side of it, then it means then that it was guilty. It was just something that it was a bad value, right? And that's when I think to myself, okay, no, I'm not letting that influence me. I am not letting that get in my life. Or when there's actually a good value in everything and it gets filtered through. You give it a check. You check what it is. You check the value and it goes through. It is a positive value. That's amazing. You've just gained something that will enrich your personality and your behavior in the future and your chance of actually living a better life. But it is not a simple journey because it takes a lot of mind work, because at the first, I believe the first processes, the first periods of time that you're going to spend doing this, you'll actually have to bring your awareness towards it, and you'll actually have to focus on this exact concept of the filter. When somebody says something to you, or, oh, you should do this, or maybe, oh, you should do that, or, oh my god, I love this person, and oh, I love this thing, like, oh my god, this is amazing. You need to consciously remind yourself of the filter and think to yourself, what this person has said, I'm gonna check all of that through this filter, and I'm only gonna get the very positive things out of it. I'm gonna be conscious about it. I'm not gonna be stupid. And so the good things come out on the other side, and the filth remains in the filter, and you clean it out, and that's it. But it can be quite a handful if you just start trying to suddenly do it. If your entire life you've been influenced relentlessly without any kinds of stops and gaps and anything, then it will be kind of difficult at first, but I can assure you that it is a beautiful thing to go. It is a beautiful path to go down on. Myself, I used to be very, very easily influenceable a long time ago. Maybe a long time ago to me amounts to like maybe a year ago, right? Maybe 2 years ago. I was easily influenceable. Like you could have told me anything that would have influenced me, and I would have gained. I've gained countless bad values from the people in my environment just because I was so easily influenceable. Just because I was not thinking about the idea that what is this person saying? Is this person actually saying something that will help me, or is this person actually displaying a set of beliefs, a set of values that I would like to incorporate in my life? This is the filter. Questions. This is how you filter the bad values. You question the thing. Is this something that I would like to have in my life? Is this something that I would like to pursue and actually integrate within myself? And if the answer is no, and if you're honest to yourself and it's no, then you don't let it pass the filter. Right? Now, it's very easy to just find this filter and to think to yourself, yeah, it's much easier to just close your mind up completely, right? It's much easier to just imagine your mind as, I don't know, a room, maybe, whatever, right? It's a room with two wide open doors. Those doors, if you open them, they will always constantly try to close it back down, right? And that's why we need to constantly pry them open again. This is a concept that I've learned from Jocko Willink, and he talks a lot about this, but he talks about the concept of prying open your mind, which you just pry it open completely. You rip those doors open. Although they will always try to close down, and maybe it's a process that lasts a week. Maybe it's a process that lasts months, years. But in the end, if you're not careful, those doors will close down and your mind will be closed and you're just in your own head and you're not getting any input from the outside world. And that's when things can go really badly. This is what happened in my own life. When I was playing 6 hours of video games a day, when I was doing all of these kinds of horrible things, I was watching all of these horrible things on the internet, right? These things that I shouldn't be watching as a child, as a young child. Like, you can probably guess what I'm talking about. I'm talking about porn. I'm talking about all kinds of weird, stupid propaganda videos about all kinds of random things on the internet, right? People preaching stupid, horrible things. I was watching that, and as a child, you know, I kept taking those things in, and my mind, because I was not paying any attention to it. And maybe, when you're a young child, you don't really think about it. But as you grow older, and as you start to realize that things are actually happening, that you're an adult and you're not the only one around, there's other things, you start to kind of be more aware of the fact that you have to open your mind, right? You have to keep it somewhat open. But when you're a kid, when I was a kid like this, I I felt my doors closing constantly. My parents, they would try to talk to me about the dangers of playing video games for so long because they were genuinely concerned about me. I was spending 6 hours a day playing video games, talking to random people that I didn't know about, that they didn't know about, that nobody knew about, and they thought to themselves, this is dangerous. And to some extent it damn was very dangerous. And so they would try to talk to me about it. They would try to talk to me about, maybe other alternatives. Oh, maybe we could go outside. Maybe we could be doing this and everything. Or maybe, if you really want, you could just kind of spend less time on the computer. Or maybe you could kind of limit the people that you're talking to or something. All these kinds of options they were trying to give me because they were genuinely concerned about me. And because at that point, I closed my mind up and I did not want to even open it because, mind you, this process of prying open your mind, it is something painful because it involves you destroying your pride and involves you just putting a big, big stop on it just so you can actually open your mind to new concepts. So that sometimes you can admit that, yeah, I messed up. I'm sorry. Or, this is my responsibility. What happened, what is going on right now, it's my responsibility. Even if it hurts, even if it's a horrible situation to be in, it is my responsibility, right? It is horrible. It is hard to do those things, right? And yet it is very important that we do those things. It is crucial that we do those things, right? And my mind was closed. My parents, they were trying to give all these beautiful values, like amazing values, spending time outside, patience, the value of patience, the value of kindness, the value of love. By love as in spending more time with my family and being around and culturing love. My mind was closed. The filter was not there. The filter was behind the closed doors. And so nothing was coming in. And all of that time I thought to myself, what a bunch of dumbasses. Back then, as my parents were genuinely concerned about me, trying to make my life better, trying to do all these kinds of things, taking me and my brother onto all kinds of crazy trips and doing all kinds of different things. My mind was closed. No matter what they could try to do, they could not pry it open. And so it was closed, and behind those closed doors, in the comfort of this place, because this is a weirdly comfortable place, when you have your closed doors, because you don't have any cold, warm, uncomfortable breezes coming from the outside into your room. And actually, you can almost imagine a room which is kind of like, it's a bit damp, that perfect temperature, right? And you'd be like, I can realize it's a bit damp and maybe I should open up the windows to air it up a bit, but like I don't want to, because this is like the perfect kind of place, right? And so when you open the door and it's like a chilly winter or chilly autumn morning or evening, and the cold air is coming in, you're like, oh man, like I don't like this, right? And for a period of time it is cold in there, it's not nice. This is exactly how it works in your mind as well. But this is why we have to pry open our minds. We don't just open our minds, because we cannot just open a locked door. We cannot just kind of try to constantly try to handle on and try to open it, right? If it's locked, then it won't open. That's why we have to pry them open. That's why we're killing our egos. We're destroying our pride in order to pry open those doors. But we don't just pry them open. We also keep a filter in place. That's very interesting, isn't it? We also keep a filter in place. Behind those open doors, you have like a mosquito net, right? That you would put on you know what I mean, right? Like you have a door, and you have like a net in front or maybe behind it, to keep the bugs and things out of your house, right? This is exactly what you're doing here as well, right? You're prying open those doors. You're opening your mind to new concepts and beliefs and values, essentially values, right? But you still have the filter in place. You still have a safety measure in place, that you're not just letting a bunch of horrible things in. Because when I open my door and I want some fresh air in, I don't want a bug this size coming in and scaring the living hell out of me. No, I don't want that. Like, I hate bugs, man. Like, bugs that size, they're horrible, man. I don't know. It's absolutely scary. And so this is the process that we have to go through. It's very interesting. And another interesting thing that I believe will help you out is that important information will always come out of filthy situation. Filthy situations. Or maybe not always. Like, maybe this is something that is a bit weird, but sometimes there will just simply not be important things that will come out of horrible things, right? But there are so many times, and I can think about them in my own life, when I used to get bullied in school, when I used to spend 6 hours a day on video games, when I used to masturbate watching all kinds of horrible things. Like, I don't want to talk about it, right? When I was doing all of these horrible things a year and a half ago, I gained a lot of different insights, because I did those things. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm making all these videos, because I've gained that insight about how horrible those things are. I've been on that side. I've realized I've had mornings in which I just didn't want to wake up. Just simply, I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to exist that day. I just didn't want to have to face for another day of just monotony and just gray zone and just nothing happening. Lifeless. And so, I thinking back on it now, there's so much value that comes out of these situations. So much value that comes out of horrible things. Filthy situations in which things are horrible and you don't even want to imagine them. Important, very meaningful information can come out of those places. And this is information that we need, right? And so when something horrible happens, don't just try to constantly close it up in your mind. When you get somebody, who's very, I don't know, who's just starting to talk things about you, who's starting to talk stupid things behind your back, who's gossiping, who's doing all kinds of things, you don't just try to lock it up away because it's a horrible thing and you don't like it and you feel very uncomfortable and everything. No, you keep it open and you filter out the important things and you let the filth out. You let all the negative, fearful insecurities and all the kinds of things that come from things like these, right? You filter them out, you throw them outside. You don't let them open, you don't let them go through the open doors. But you let the important things, the realizations, the conclusions that come out of things like this, like, a very important realization, people are always going to talk bad things about you. People are always going to try to make fun of you. If you have something that they don't, or if they think that they have something that you don't, they will always try to talk stupid things. They will always try to be and try to ruin things for you. Like, that is just natural to some extent, right? And so, there will always be good things coming out of bad things. It's a bit weird, but in every Satan hound, Satan Cerberus that lies at the gates of hell is a little puppy that you can play and pet. But I mean, I wouldn't want to get close to fucking Cerberus. Sorry for the swear word again. I'm gonna give you a start in how I believe you could change your value. I'm gonna give you an example, right? So, which I believe you can help start changing your values as well. Like that past sentence didn't make sense, man. An example of changing values. A little while ago, I started praying. I started realizing that there are things in my life that I'm not gonna be able to control myself. And I watched this Andrew Huberman podcast, right, in which he was talking about the fact that he also started praying himself, like a neuroscientist started praying. And I thought to myself, well, that's meaningful. And I've always had respect for that man. I mean, he's made beautiful pieces of content that have helped millions and millions of people all around the world, right, live better lives. And I thought to myself, I respect this person and the fact that he says that, to him, he feels like there's things in his life that he cannot control. Like, he cannot control his entire life. There are certain things that are out of his control, and that he'd rather build faith into something higher out there in the sky, or I don't know. I don't know exactly what religion he's going for, but or even if he's going for like a certain religion. Maybe he's just praying to a divinity out there that nobody has identified. And so he talks and he says that there are things that are out of my control and that I would be much happier knowing that I'll just let them be the way that they are, and I won't just constantly try to change them, and I won't always constantly try to bring them under my wing, under my control, because I won't be able to. And I will only get frustrated and will only make my life horrible. He talked about it in the sense that, he had a horrible set of memories of things that happened in his life, that he wanted to get rid of, and he tried everything, right? But it just felt like nothing worked. But in the end, when he realized the fact that maybe there's things in our lives that we cannot fully control, like certain things. I'm not meaning like everything. Don't start going off the rails here and just saying, oh, I don't have control over anything in my life, and I shouldn't go to the gym. Then I shouldn't do anything because I don't have control over the way that I look or the way that I think. Or no, there's certain things, right? Don't let your brain get in the way of it and start making up stupid thoughts that don't make sense, right? There's certain things in your life that maybe you're not going to be able to control. The place you're born in, the family that you get, I don't know, the weather in the sky. There's certain things, the random thoughts that, sometimes they cross your mind. sometimes there will be certain things that you cannot control. And so instead of just trying to constantly try to change those things, trying to change the nationality, try to change your skin color, try to change your way of living, like your authentic way of life, trying to change your authentic desires, trying to change your family, like all these kinds of things. Instead of trying to do those, understand that the things that you can't really change that you're gonna have to live with, and that and this is the concept that we went by, and I thought to myself, like, I can really relate to that. I put it for the filter. I put it for this filter, right? I took his entire idea that he went by, that we cannot control things. There are certain things that we cannot control. Let me rephrase that. There are certain things that we cannot control, and that maybe actually having something higher above there, knowing, to pray to know that there's something out there that's actually maybe listening to you, that's actually going to help you live a better life. I took all of that and I run it through the filter, and on the other side came out the idea that, the realization that, I used to pray, when I was young, when I was in like third, second grade or something like that. I used to pray. I try to make it a habit. I remember I would be spending my nights, I would be spending several minutes every night just sitting and just praying. And then I go to sleep, and then at some point I cannot remember why I just stopped, because maybe I was just a kid and I was not that mindless. And then other things came along in my life, and all these kinds of degenerate, horrible things, influences, got over me, and they ruined my life, to some extent. They made things horrible for a certain period of time until I started fixing them, until things started changing. Why, if I used to pray back then, why did I stop? Why don't I pray now? Why don't I make this a habit, of developing a faith into something maybe that's going out there, and I got this value out of it, the faith, the value of faith, the value of loyalty towards something, and this is a great example of changing your values. Maybe you don't have to listen to me again. You should be running this for your own filter. Maybe you don't want to pray. Maybe, I don't know, you have different things going on in your life and you don't really care about this. But to me, it felt like this is something important. It felt like this is something meaningful that I believe means a lot to me. And so, I started doing it, and I changed my values. I let that value run through the filter as I had my doors open, because if you would have told me about the concept of praying 2 years ago, I would have just looked at I would have laughed. I would have just said, yeah, no, I'm an atheist. For such a long part of my life, I told myself that, yeah, God doesn't exist, just stupid. We're all human beings, and when we die, we die. Right? And that was it. Like, I was just telling myself that all of these things, they're just stupid. They're just worthless. Like, why? Religion is just it's a tool for controlling the mass population, and oh my god, we shouldn't have faith in something. We shouldn't have something to lay our fucking hands on. Again, sorry for the swear word. We shouldn't have anything. Oh, we should just be independent human beings and everything, like all these kinds of things, right? But now if you're telling me about it, I'm like, yeah, yes. I've gone for the past 1 year and a half of my life, and what I've gotten out of this is faith. In the end, I believe that I've started building faith. As weird as it sounds, I took control more of my own life, and I started doing things for myself, and what I got out of it was faith for something higher above. At least, a little seed of faith that I believe I can culture into a beautiful plant, a beautiful tree, whatever you want to call it. So, let me just turn the page here, because I have a bunch of ideas written down that I want to talk to you about. Changing values positively grows your character, right? We've already talked about this, but there's just a certain important thing that I want to talk to you about, in particular. When you change your values, when you start positively changing, taking positive feedback from the world, and you run it through the filter and it comes out clean on the other side, it enriches your personality. Maybe some people, they don't understand the true importance of changing values, but haven't you seen all those kinds of random people that we have in class, on the street, in our homes, in our families, in our friend groups, whatever, in our relatives? All these kinds of like boring people, like absolutely boring people, people that are just dull. They don't have anything. Like you just talk to them and you feel like you're talking to a wall, right? We've all had that. We all have that. You know why? It's because they don't have values. Their core, their core. I don't know how to call it, the core of your own being. To go into a more spiritual way of speaking. The core of your own being is not cultured. It is just like this weird dried thing. That's just sitting there. You're just a dull person. You're boring. You're sad. You're depressed. You're feeling horrible about yourself. But once you start taking all these kinds of positive values in, maybe it's from self-improvement, maybe it's from something else. For me, luckily it was from self-improvement. It was from doing all of those good habits, which they made me obtain positive values. And they've helped nurture and grow my being's core, right? It's helped grow I don't even know what to call it, the ball of light within me. Like, I don't know if this sounds stupid to people, but this is how I see it, man. Want to see the tank, bro? Look at that tank. It's a Centurion. Yeah. I love tanks, man. And when we put all kinds of positive values into our own selves, we're nurturing our light. We're just letting that light grow brighter and brighter. Think of it as a light bulb, right? It's a light bulb that you're giving it little to no power. It's like barely working. It's like very, very shallow. It's a horrible bulb. Like that's when people, those boring people, those dull, depressed people that you see everywhere. This is what they are. They're just a dull light bulb that barely works, that barely lights anything up. But as you start putting in positive values and you start growing positive values, it's like you're giving more power to that light bulb. It's like that light bulb just suddenly starts glowing brighter and brighter and brighter until the entire room of your mind, your entire mind's chamber is lit up. Is lit. Your mind is lit, man. But that's it. That's how I see it. When you start growing and you start actually getting more values about something, maybe in a certain topic which you didn't even want to think about before, but once you start culturing some good positive values in that kind of domain, you just start being so much more alive. You just start feeling so much more alive. I mean, how do you think when you're walking in a room which is dark and there's like a barely working light bulb in there and it's like lighting things up? You feel like you're in a prison cell, right? Or in a very scary horror movie, right? I don't know, or a cheap one. But when the light bulb is growing bright, it's glowing bright as hell. When you're walking in that room, you actually feel a little better. You actually, I don't know, it's a boost of energy. I found that out myself. I don't like sitting in rooms which have very poor lighting. But it just, I don't know, it just ruins my mood. Maybe it's something biological, probably is. But when I'm sitting in very brightly lit rooms, maybe when in the evenings or something, it just brings a boost to my personality. It just makes me feel much more lively, much more cheerful, much more joyful. And this is basically a metaphor that I'm going by. We all have to bring more power to our own light bulbs within our own hearts, which are lighting this entire chamber of our own minds and of our own existence. If you want to live a better, more cheerful, joyful life, happier life, then why not start actively chasing positive values and actively taking away all the bad values that you have? Why not do that? It's a beautiful thing and it's helping you and it's literally giving you life. I remember the way that I used to be 2 years ago. I always talk about, I remember the way I used to be. I used to be this dull, boring, meaningless person to be around. I had nothing. And, I'm looking at photos sometimes. I'm looking at photos, maybe sometimes I put them in my thumbnails. Maybe you can see it, the photos that you can tell are kind of not that old, but they're quite old. No, my hair was not in any kind of shape. It was just, I was just letting my hair grow in all kinds of ways because I was too careless to care about it. I was dressing up with whatever. My nails sometimes, they would be like absolutely huge. I would have like killer nails, right? Killer claws, you could call, right? I didn't like taking baths. I didn't like actually taking care of my own body, of being healthy. I didn't like any of those things. I was a dull, meaningless person. I had nothing to live for. I felt horrible for myself back then, right? But once I started going on this process of self improvement and I started taking away the bad values and I started replacing them with positive values to fill out the blanks, I just started feeling so much more cheerful, so much more lively, so much more happy to be on this earth. I have some videos that I think I might just upload onto YouTube for a short while, maybe. That I start, like, some videos that I recorded right when, maybe in the past summer, right? Right when I started self improvement. I was looking at myself and I saw myself. I was so miserable. I had no light inside of me. I had no emotion to go by. I was just there. I was with this microphone, and I had this microphone in my hand, right? And the camera was like, I was not even looking at the camera. I was looking down. I was like this, and I was just talking like very close to the microphone. I was very, very silent. I just felt like I was absolutely antisocial. And this is right when I, like, maybe 2 or 3 months into self improvement. Now I'm going on camera. I have nothing to hide. I've got nothing to kind of lay low and talk low about. I don't care. And so I'm in this situation here where changing my values in a positive light has made my life amazing. And it keeps making my life amazing. And I'm smiling about it now because it's such a wonderful feeling to go through, man. To be able to change your life in a positive light. To be able to be cheerful, to be able to enjoy time spent with your family, to be able to look at the sun, not stare at the sun, right? Don't stare at the sun. Don't be stupid. But to feel the sunlight on my skin and to look around and see a bright blue sky and or to see a rainy day and to be able to smile and to tell myself this is a beautiful day. This is another day that I get to spend on earth. And being actually happy with that. I don't know, it's just an amazing feeling and it just makes me so happy, fills me up with life. I don't know. And a lot of people, they tend to think that all of these stupid stereotypes that we get from the media about how we should be living our lives and everything, they think that this is the peak human existence. I thought to myself that, you know, all those high school years in which you're going out to parties, like you've seen all those Hollywood movies, right? All those high schoolers, in the U.S., the United States, or something, right, with their trucks and everything, like their huge trucks, just driving around and going to parties, and the jocks and the I don't what like all the cute girls and whatever running after. I was like, oh, this is the teenage dream, to go out to parties, get drunk, and do all kinds of things, and then I graduate, then I have to get a job, and then I just have to work this mediocre job for the rest of my life. No, 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 but they don't talk about that in movies, do they? No, 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 no. They talk about, oh my god, I'm gonna go in my crazy truck and I'm gonna get drunk all my high school years, and I'm gonna have sex with all these kinds of random girls because that's amazing. That's a peak human existence. Wasting your time and only gaining bad, negative values into your life. Oh, that's the peak human existence. And then you grow older and you realize that I've wasted my childhood. I've wasted my childhood. I've wasted my life. And I'm going to have to pay because of that. I'm going to have to be working this job, you know, and trying to provide for my family, which, to be frank, I don't even like that much because, it's not even like I made this family with the woman that I don't even love that much, because I just got her pregnant in high school or whatever, and then we ended up getting married. Like, I don't know. I'm getting into a lot of detail here. This might seem oddly specific, but it's not happened to me, thankfully. But a lot of people think that this is the peak human experience. Just listening to all of these stupid stereotypes, which are just giving you bad values in return. No. By going on about your authentic way of life, This is how you gain positive values. This is how you live a better life. This is how you grow yourself. This is how you get to look back on your childhood and actually be happy. I look back on the past 1 year. Oh shit! On the past 1 year and a half of my life, and it's been amazing. I have nothing to regret. I have no regrets for the past 1 year and a half of my life because I've been changing. It's because I've not sat in place once. Even when I thought I did, I've not sat in place. I've always made progress. I've always had amazing realizations about life, and they've always helped me in a very meaningful way. And so, we need to understand that even if, adopting new and better values and getting rid of the stupid stereotype kind of life, even if that means sacrifice, even if that means that we have to get rid of things that maybe we would have liked, maybe things that we love, that we genuinely love, that we've lived with for our entire lives, even if it means sacrifice, it's something that we have to do. Maybe you're gonna get really pissed off. Maybe you're gonna get really mad at me, really angry when you hear me talk about all of this because you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not gonna give up this belief that I've had about my grandma. I'm not gonna give up this belief that I had about dating girls. This is personally what's happened to me. My values, when it came to dating and to girls and to this entire idea of relationships and love, it was messed up. I thought to myself, yeah, I'm just gonna act like this cool alpha male. I'm just gonna ignore them and not talk to them for like a day, just so I seem like I'm busy. Sometimes when I'm not, and I would have actually liked to talk to this girl, but no, I'm not gonna talk to her because I'm trying to seem busy so that she can actually no. It's stupid, right? And I've gone into much more details into past videos if you want to check it out. But that was my belief, and I thought to myself, this is amazing. Like, this probably works, and it's worked for so many people before me, and probably it will help me end up, getting some physical action with this girl or with this random girl, right? Because she's attracted to me because I have a cool watch or I have like a cool shirt, and I'm just materialistic as hell. But in the end, I other people, mention this concept of the fact that, it's not about the stupid things that, oh my god, like, the cool watch, the cool shirt, the cool things. It's not about that. It's about you. It's about your own personality. It's about who you are. That is the person that a girl should be attracted with, not the watch, not the car, not the sunglasses that costed like $800, not the, I don't know, whatever. It should be you as a person, your personality, your look, your characteristic look. I don't mean huge crazy muscles, that you're building just for girls. No, I mean you as a person, what you want to be look like, what you want to develop yourself as a young man. So, to me, hearing that concept that, maybe it's not about all of this and that it's actually more about your own self and that it's more difficult than ever. I thought to myself, I hate this. I hate this. And I hated it. I hated it so much because, it just ruined my entire belief concept about all of this. It ruined all the values that I had created for myself in that environment of dating and girls and everything. I suddenly I should I suddenly realized that maybe this is not the way to go. But I thought to myself, oh man, but like I don't want to. It's harder. It's much harder to actually develop yourself as a human being, to be a better human being, to be a better person. It's much harder to actually become a man. Once you're a boy and become a man, and then be with a woman and actually live a good life and actually get to have a beautiful future ahead of you. It's much harder to do than to just to go in a club and just to, dance around in your fancy watch and with your fancy sunglasses and your fancy shirt and your fancy car outside and get some random drunk girl to have sex with you. That's no way to live. And I thought so it required a lot of sacrifice on my end. Same with video games. Same with Junk food. Same with sugar. I haven't eaten sugar, like willingly touched. I haven't willingly touched. I mean, I've never touched. Like, I haven't eaten a single piece of cake, a pie, a cookie, or I haven't drunk a single sip of soda, of any kind of juice in the past, what, 9 months. Ever since 2023 started, I stopped touching sugar. Stopped touching all of that. Although it was a sacrifice at first because, oh man, my grandma, she makes. I'm gonna tell you, man, my grandma makes amazing fucking cakes. Again, sorry for the swear word. Amazing cakes, amazing food, everything. Same with my mom. Like, they make amazing food. I'm not even lying. Especially cakes and this and pies, and sometimes I wish like I could just gobble on that, but I realize that it's I have to sacrifice. This is the point of sacrifice. It's not you. If it were easy, everybody could do it. But this is why it's difficult. It's something hard, And this is why we have to sacrifice all of those bad things which are holding us back and adopt different, better, more positive values in our lives. And it means that you're giving up the comfort of the known for the unknown, right? You're giving up the comfort of what you know, of what you've lived with your entire life. I've lived my entire life up until 9 months ago, eating sugar, eating cakes that my mom and my grandma make, eating, drinking sodas. I don't know, doing whatever. Just to suddenly say to myself, this happened on one day I was eating like a bunch of sweets, and on the next day I thought to myself, I'm not eating sugar anymore. That was it. I just stopped. I simply stopped, right? It's been 9 months since then. I gave up the comfort of the known, which I had lived with for like 15, 14 years of my life, for the unknown, right? For what actually lies beyond the edge. Which for me, maybe in the terms of giving up sugar was improved health, improved vitality, improved, I don't know, everything, like improved life. Same with video games, same with all the addictions that I had. Like, I've given up so many addictions, right? All of them. I had to give up the comfort of the known, which I had lived with for so long, right? To actually look beyond the edge, to lean beyond the edge, to look into the unknown. And that can be very uncomfortable and painful, but if I did it, like a random dumbass like me, if I did it, then anybody can. Absolutely. This concept, of leaning beyond the edge into the unknown, it's basically you destroying your older identities, you destroying your old way of life and changing it for your new way of life. It's you building a new identity from the ground. This is what I did when I quit video games. This is what I did when I quit sugar. This is what I did and everything. My old identity was I'm a guy who plays video games 6 hours a day. I'm a guy who talks to all kinds of random people who don't care about me whatsoever. I'm a guy who eats sugar. I'm a guy who watches TV. I'm a guy who does this. I'm a guy who does that. But now I am no longer the guy. I'm not a guy who plays video games. I'm not a guy who watches TV. I'm not a guy who eats sugar. I'm not a I had to literally rebuild my own identity up from the ground. And for some people this might seem a bit weird and a bit uncomfortable, but it is absolutely worth the effort. And once you get the hang of it, once you get the hang of this entire idea of rebuilding your identity, after adopting better values in your life, once you get the hang of this is amazing. It is an amazing experience to go through. And you actually start to enjoy it. You know, changing values is a process that goes on for like so many levels, right? Think of changing processes as like levels in video games. You have level 1, I don't know, let's say, I used to play this game called War Thunder, with tanks and planes or whatever. And you had different kinds of levels that you could aspire to, from level 1 up to level 100. And level 100, you're a beast. right? Been playing the game for years. You have thousands of hours. You know everything. You know how to play the game, right? And you will ruin everyone else. And so you're at level 1. Most of us are at level 1 in terms of changing our values, right? There's 100 levels. Let's say there's 100 levels to this. And most of us, including myself, are at level 1. We're not that special. And so we need to understand that we need to start leveling up this skill of changing values. We need to start growing ourselves. We need to start growing our personalities, our way of life, so that we can level up to higher levels until we can. I don't even know if you can reach level 100 in this case, but if you could, it'd be like you've reached eternal I don't know what to call it, eternal peace, right? You've reached eternal peace at level 100, right? And that's what we're striving for. I don't know. Maybe you're striving for something else. So yeah, think of it as a process that goes through different levels. And most of us, we are at the beginning of the process, so we're at the levels down low when we have to go up high, for all the levels. No, it takes dedication and a curious mind to go up all these levels. It really does. It takes a lot of dedication, to be able to change your values and to be able to constantly keep your mind open. It takes a lot of dedication. It's not something that you can easily do, but I believe it is something that is worth doing. I believe it is something that really, really means a lot to all of us. And so, it takes dedication and a curious mind. Because, in order for you to go up all these levels, you have to constantly pry open your mind. This is what curious people do, by the way. I feel like this is a really interesting trait. Maybe there's curious people out there who don't really open up their minds, and maybe I've known some of them, but I've realized that, maybe curiosity could be somewhat associated with the idea that you open up your mind. You pry open your mind, because when you're curious about something, you're opening your mind to new things, to new concepts, to new beliefs. That's curiosity. That's a beautiful thing. I hope you've gained some value out of this video. I tried to make it as coherent as possible, and I think I've done a decent job, although I still have a lot to actually work through. So, again, I hope you've gained a lot of value from this video, if not a little value out of this video. If you feel like you want to talk to me about this subject in more of detail, then you can join the Discord server. That is probably going to be in the description of the video and the description of the channel. You can probably find it everywhere you look. You're looking on the fucking walls. Again, sorry for the swear word. You're looking on the walls and you're seeing links of my Discord server. Join the Discord server if you want to join me and have a discussion. If you feel like this has helped you in some way, if you feel this is valued, talking about values and everything. If you feel like this video has brought you some positive values, then why not subscribe and like the video? It'll help me out a ton, and then it'll keep me going. So thank you. Good luck.